the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, May 26th. So today we do have the moon in Leo energy. Definitely in place for the majority of the day. However, we are going to go void, of course, at 2:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the moon is going to be void until 11:06 p.m. I don't know, but that seems like a very long day, especially very long waking day to have that many hours. Very shaky, very uncertain, very, very unstable. That's what happens when the moon goes void. But we're locking into Virgo energy at 11:06 p.m. and that is definitely going to bring a totally different vibe, especially coming out of this Leo energy. The transition from the fire, passion, excitable, bold, brave, courageous, attention-seeking Leo energy definitely hits a brick wall when we enter into the Virgo energy. Why is that, you may ask? Well, first of all, Virgo energy is an earth energy, so we just kind of squash that fire, that spark, that flame. We have to get realistic. We have to come back down to earth, so to speak, but adding an extra layer on top of this, Virgo energy is ruled over by Mercury. Mercury is in his rulership because we are in Gemini season. He rules over Gemini energy and Virgo energy. Virgo energy being an earth sign ruled over by Mercury energy means that whatever we got going on in our mental plane is what it is that we are going to bring to life. So we have to be very focused on what it is that we have to kind of create order within. The Virgo energy is going to help us kind of problem solve, if you will. We are very focused on the smaller details of our uncomfortability, of our dissatisfaction, of our discontentment. Even more so because we will be building towards the first quarter moon in Virgo energy, again popping off here on Saturday, May 27th. But moving into this energy means that we are needing to be triggered and activated, irritated, kind of edgy. We need to focus on what is not working, what does not feel good. Why is that? Well, so that we come up with another plan, another solution. The first quarter moon always offers us a revelation, epiphany, mostly coming out of the uncomfortability status on what it is that we no longer want to experience. That first quarter moon puts us in a situation to pull the trigger, to decide, to commit, to align. And in Virgo energy, you best believe that this is going to be very logical, very practical, very structured in how it is that we go ahead and actually affirm to ourselves, to the universe, the path, the decision, the choice that we're leaning into. And of course, we're still very fresh in Gemini season, so we still have a lot of information, a lot of details that we have yet to uncover. We need to be well informed before we go ahead and commit. But this first quarter moon in Virgo energy will have us leaning towards one path, one decision, one choice, one direction over the other. So we have to expect there to be some mild irritation. And of course, if you're stuck in your ego and haven't done the shadow work, that mild irritation will definitely be a major trigger and activation. But pay attention to what it is that's going on in your headspace. Be very, very aware of the highly judgmental, highly critical narrative that you're having, especially when considering yourself, because again, we tend to be a little bit hard on ourselves in Virgo energy. But also pay attention to where the craziness, where the chaos is still alive and well, not only within you, but in your physical circumstances as well, because Virgo energy is here to put the kibosh on that. We're here to put things in order. We're here to reorganize, restructure the smaller details of our inner realm and our, let's call it, external circumstances. We have to get things put in its place. We have to get in alignment. That's what this week has been all about. If you need to listen to that ascension forecast that I put out for this week, again, please go ahead and do so that you can understand why our physical bodies are kind of in a state of paralysis with exhaustion, with whatever it is that is holding you back from making the moves, because of course we're not put in a position to make moves. This first quarter moon in Virgo will kind of open the window of opportunity to make moves, to make plans, to actually, see some progress in moving forward. But just because the window's open doesn't mean we jump through it right away. We do have a little bit more patience to exercise before we enter into June. Why is that important, you may ask? Well, if you've been listening to the forecast, you would know that we're under a pretty tough influence right now. Jupiter squaring off with Pluto. Of course, we had that T-square involving Mars and the nodes of the moon. And we are still under the post-retrograde shadow with Mercury. So he's not going to step into his clarity, until his rulership, until June 1st. And as I've been saying, since the beginning of the year, when I put out the 2023 energy forecast for this whole entire year, breaking every month down and highlighting the important transits of each, this is not a time to decide. Not a time for action, not a time for decisions. Yes, the pressure, the impulse is there, the urgency is there, but if we do it right now, we are going to be effing ourselves up and creating a little bit of a cluster F for us to move into. We definitely want to hold off to at least the first day of June in order to kind of see a little bit more clarity. We don't even realize that we're missing huge chunks of information at this particular point, but we should all be aiming for June 11th. That is the day when all systems will be go. It's a very interesting day in the cosmos. More coming at you with the June energy forecast. But this is just a little bit of a recap on why we're feeling the way that we're feeling and what we need to do about it, which is to have patience, to just be content with the experience of confusion and just ride this very uncomfortable adjustment period out. Clarity is coming, movement is coming, acceleration is coming. A whole bunch of things are coming, just not this week. So with that being said, there are 8 different aspects here today, and 6 of them are going to involve the moon. So the moon, still in Leo energy, is going to trine, which is a beautiful harmonization of energies, with Chiron, the wounded healer. What this is kind of suggesting is, yes, we are kind of catching a glimpse of a new spark, a new fire, a new motivation, new desire, new inspiration within us. Might not be clear. We might not have all the details and have everything figured out, but we definitely feel a change in heart. We feel what is right for us. Might not make the most logical sense right now, but we feel like we're making a little bit of progress in our inner realms. Chiron, the wounded healer, in this particular aspect, is pushing us to see how much we've changed, how much we've grown, how much we've actually healed, and the version of ourselves that we're currently at in this particular transformative process. Now, the moon is going to make an interaction with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, and this Cancer energy that has us very focused on the fundamental basics of what it is that we need in our emotional realm to feel safe and secure and stable. Not only that, but what it is that we need in our physical realm to make us feel safe, secure, and stable. Not only where our relationships are concerned, but where our finances are concerned as well. There is a very deep, intuitive pull to really get real and raw and vulnerable with the fact that nobody is coming to save us, that we have to boss up and save ourselves, that nobody outside of us are going to heal the wounds that are alive and well within us. This is a solo job. This is a solo journey. And Venus in Cancer is super hypersensitive, super in alignment with where it is that we feel defensive, passive aggressive, where it is that we're feeling vulnerable in these particular areas, and take note of these particular areas because that is where change is needed the most. Before the moon in Leo goes void, of course, the moon is going to get into the boxing ring and square off with Uranus, the Great Awakener, who of course is in Taurus energy. Now, this isn't going to feel good. A square never does, but the square is going to illuminate where we're having conflicting thoughts and feelings, where it is that obstacles and challenges are alive and well, not necessarily in our physical realm, but in our mental plane, in our emotional plane. Now, the Uranian energy usually provides us with a little bit of a breakthrough, an epiphany, an aha moment on where it is that, especially in our physical realms, because of the Taurus energy that Uranus is in, where our physical routines need to change, where taking care of ourselves need to change, where our relationship dynamics need to change, where our finances, our resources need to change in order to provide us with the safety, security, stability that we've already kind of identified isn't feeling so hot, isn't even existent in some areas of our life. And therefore, we're kind of upset at this point. We are more confused than we are clear. We are more having a emotional and mental quote unquote breakdown, again, in preparation for a breakthrough. And realistically speaking, we're just kind of verklempt. We're moving inside of ourselves. We need to become a little bit more introverted, which is not what the moon in Leo typically wants for us. The moon in Leo wants us to stand out, to speak out, to be seen, to be heard. We're, again, a little bit attention seeking in that vibration and frequency. And because our heart space is kind of confused right now, or we really don't have the information and the big vision and the big perspective that we were hoping for, we're kind of curling up in a little ball. We're retreating back into kitten mode, where we're not this big, bold, proud, courageous lion that is roaring to remind the jungle who the F it is that we are. Instead, we're moving into kitten mode, where we're retreating and curling up in a ball and licking our wounds and just meowing and crying. That's okay. It's part of the process, especially as we approach this first quarter moon. So the moon goes void, of course. And again, when the moon goes void, of course, things get shaky, things get a little bit nerve-wracking, things get uncertain. We have a lot more questions than we do answers. Everything is just questionable. And again, like I mentioned, we have a very long day of the moon being void, of course. Now, Venus is going to sextile Uranus. And this is pretty much, I'm going to say, one of the best, if not the best, aspects that we got going on here. Why is that? Okay, well, Venus, who rules over our routines, our worth, both within ourselves and in a monetary sense, relationships, finances, all that jazz, our happiness, our joy, our pleasure, sextiling, which is a beautiful energy, with Uranus, who is now providing us a little bit of an epiphany, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of a breakthrough on what it is that we plan on doing in order to fulfill the needs that we've already identified aren't being met by other people. Again, Venus in this Cancer energy, she is very, very kind of withdrawn. She moves inward. She recognizes where it is that she acts out of fear to hold on to the attachments of the past, and where it is that she's identifying things aren't working so well. So what does this mean? Well, we have to come up with a new method, a new structure on how it is that we're going to take care and provide for our own emotional stability and our physical safety and security where our emotions and finances are concerned. This is a sextile. This is a blending of energies. Uranus is here to say, hey, what about this? I have an epiphany. I have an aha moment. Why don't you think about this for a second? How do you think it makes you feel? Uranus is like, hey, I know I'm in Taurus energy, just shaking up all of the structures that you've already built in your physical realm in order to illuminate to you where it is that some of those structures are not as safe and sound as you thought that they were. But I'm also showing you where it is that the weakness lies in this kind of circumstance that you've built, where it is that you need to build something new. So emotionally speaking, we are starting to see some of the puzzle pieces come together on what it is that we need to be doing for ourselves. Well, the moon, still in Leo energy, but void, of course, is going to make a positive interaction with Neptune. Neptune is in its place of power in this Pisces energy. And we really get, I'm going to say, heart aligned with the vision, with the dream, with the inspiration, with the imagination, with the fantasy that, of course, we would like to be living in. Now, this is very healing for us. Why? Because we've been kind of stuck in the egoic realm. Of course, you know, the very first signs of the zodiac kind of are egoically based. Well, the Neptune and Pisces energy is anything but ego-based. This is our spirituality. This is our higher self. This is our dreams, if you will. And sometimes we just need to float off into la la land and remind ourselves what it is that we're fighting for, what it is that we kind of want to create in our lives, what it is that we want to push through the obstacles and the challenges and actually create something out of our vision, of our downloads, of our inspiration. So we're kind of getting in alignment with reminding ourselves what the end vision, what the end goal, what the end dream actually looks like. And of course, what that feels like, because we need it to be visualized, and then we need to infuse it with an emotion. We got to get that heart and head on the same page before we kind of engage the physical body to go ahead and take action and make moves in our physical realm to start mirroring back to us what it is that we've already kind of arrived at in our inner realm. The moon will go ahead shortly thereafter and kind of make an awkward interaction with Neptune. So it's like, ooh, okay, I'm feeling good. I feel good. I feel inspired. I feel motivated. I can definitely do what I got to do. I'm tapping into my boldness, tapping into my bravery, tapping into my courage. I'm going to boss up. I'm going to do what is needed of me in order to make this dream come to reality. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? Okay, what are my options? What are my opportunities? I know where I want to go, but how do I get there? What is it that I need to do within myself? What do I have to do in my physical realm? How come my heart and my head don't feel so in alignment anymore? How come I'm questioning everything? Why is everything falling apart when I was so clear about it just not too long ago? That is a natural part of the process. Again, the moon is void. We have to expect there to be a lot of questionings, a lot of doubt, a lot of fears, a lot of uncertainties. But with Neptune involved, it's like we just, like a cloud, a fog comes over us. Suddenly we don't know who we are. We don't know where we're at. We don't know what dream we had. We don't know if we're coming or going, up, down, left, from right. Everything is overwhelming. And all we want to do is kind of check out, disassociate, curl up into a ball. And that is how the moon in Leo is going to end its time. Of course, we shift into that Virgo energy, 11:06 p.m. The very first aspect that we have after the moon kind of makes that transition is Mars squaring off with the true node. So here's the thing. Mars, of course, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passions, our desires, very eager in this Leo energy to kind of get motivated and inspired to make moves, to take action. But of course, we're not supported in doing so. The true node, the north node, is our soul path, our destiny point. And of course, we're trying to piece things together. We're trying to grow. We're trying to make some progress here, but we're coming up with some blockages, with some challenges. So what are these blockages and challenges? Likely not having a strategy, likely not having a plan, likely having a lot to do with kind of fluffing up the ego and not realizing that patience is part of the process. We have no patience with Mars, especially not in a fire energy. He just wants to, burn everything down that is no longer serving him and move on in all the right ways and just yield that sword and cut through all the crap, preventing him from getting what it is that he wants. But right now, we're just kind of paralyzed. We're in a state of non-action. It doesn't feel good. And so what's kind of happening here is that we're recognizing that, yeah, our desires are inspiring us and motivating us and kind of exciting us to get the party started, but we really don't have a plan. We don't have a strategy. And that fact in itself is preventing us from even moving forward. Again, we have to have intent. We have to have focus. In order for those things to happen, we have to have clarity. Clarity isn't even on the table yet. We might have all this fire energy pushing for us to take action, but unless our heart and our head are well aligned and, are kind of in alignment with a plan, with a calculated strategy, we're not doing anything. This is not the time to just take risks and fly by the seat of our pants, okay? We're in a very, very, I'm going to say, particular time of creation. And so we have to get our mind right. And that impulse to take action is really going to cluster F you if you go ahead and you act on egoic desires and impulses. It's going to set you back a little bit. It's going to really throw a wrench in your futuristic plans, and you're going to have a lot to review and a lot to revise. So the last thing that we have going on here today is the moon, fresh in this Virgo energy, kind of making an interesting aspect with Pluto. Pluto, of course, is the great transformer who is retrograde at the 0 degree in Aquarian energy, preparing to dip back into the Capricorn energy that we were all so happy to bust free from back in March. Of course, we'd been sitting in that Capricorn energy since 2008, so we were all very happy to just close the door on that. Spoiler alert, we're going to have to go back and clean up the mess that we didn't clean up before we closed the door. We still have some loose ends to tie up, so to speak, but we're not there yet. The moon in Virgo and Pluto, you'll often hear me say, is a favorable time in the lunar cycle. Although, I will say this, it's a favorable time that most people don't enjoy. Why do I say that? Well, because we have to do some deep healing work. We have to do some shadow work. What does that mean? Well, the moon in Virgo needs us to really focus on what isn't working, what doesn't feel good, what's crazy, what's chaotic. We have to identify the problem before we can go ahead and fix it. That is what the Virgo energy is all about. The Virgo energy wants to do a deep dive in the mind, in the psyche, really examine the programming, the conditioning that we are operating under, and seeing where it is that maybe we're the problem. Maybe we need to really reorganize and restructure our thought process, our focus, our understanding. The Plutonian energy does the deepest of deep dives in the psyche, in the programming, in the conditioning, and illuminates to us all the darkest parts of our pain, of our trauma, of our experience, all the times that we gave our power away, all the times that we gave other individuals more power over our lives than we gave ourselves, all the times that we sacrificed our own wants, needs, and desires in order to do what we think other people wanted us to do, or what we thought we needed to do in order to make other people to like us. That's its own journey of empowerment that we'll be going through back and forth with Pluto's back and forth in the Capricorn and Aquarius energy until we set up permanent residence in this Aquarian energy November of 2024. So it's still a long time coming. These two together, they reveal some things, okay? Now, what they reveal, what they unearth, aren't necessarily treasures or gems, I would say. What they unleash, what they unearth are, let's say, glitches in our programming, in our conditioning that are acting as the blockages and challenges in our mind frame of why it is that we can't move forward, why it is that we're still in a looping narrative, why it is that we're still kind of living in the past instead of the present or the future. And although it doesn't feel good to have some of these darker aspects be illuminated within ourselves, although it doesn't feel good, it is necessary to break this particular energy cord, to, again, identify that there is a problem and then feel it so that we can heal it. Now, Pluto is the great transformer. He takes us into the darkest parts of ourselves in order to show it light. What does light mean? It's information, wisdom, knowledge. How do we do that? Well, we become a little bit more informed. We step out of the ego, we step into the observing higher self, and we say, hey, that's a limiting belief. That's really kind of cluster effing the ability for me to progress moving forward. Hey, that's a looping narrative that doesn't really seem that loving, that supportive, that encouraging. And what we do is we recognize the problem, and it doesn't feel good. It triggers us. It activates us. We are about to have the first quarter moon in Virgo energy. You best believe there is no more agitated of a state than the moon in Virgo. As a moon in Virgo, trust me when I say that everything is bothersome. Everything is irritating. If it is not in a state of perfection, where there is literally nothing in this world that is in a state of perfection except for our unperfect selves, everything needs to be fixed. Everything needs to be progressively better. Everything can reach the next level. That's where the perfectionism comes from, the Virgo energy. So just kind of sit with the fact that you need to be uncomfortable. Sit in the fact that you need to just be still and do the inner work necessary in order to have whatever is blocking you in your conditioning, in your programming, deep within your psyche, be triggered and activated for you so that you can do a deep dive, unpack where that primary root cause comes from, and flip the script, rewrite the narrative, and essentially heal this sucker so that we can move on.